What is an arborist? How do you define safety on your crew? What is your strategy for selling tree work? Are trees sentient beings? And why wigs and aerial rescue do not mix. Through a mix of deep dives on individual subjects, getting out and field testing our equipment, and interviews with the people that make up our industry, Tree Thinking will answer these questions and many more as we try to understand the tree world around us on the Tree Thinking Podcast. On this one, we went a little bit longer than normal. We had the opportunity to talk to Nick Bonner, had a good conversation with him, and then we really dove into each one of the different scenarios from the rescue rally. That's one of the reasons we're doing this podcast, and so we really wanted to give it all its time that it deserved. And on top of it, aerial rescue is just one of those things that we all enjoy training and find a lot of value in. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Without further ado, we're going to take care of some business and then get right to the episode.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not, nor is it intended to be, a substitute for professional arboriculture advice and should never be relied upon to perform or direct arboricultural work. The Tree Thinking Podcast makes no representations as to the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of any information on this podcast and will not be liable for any damages arising from the use of any information in the practice of arboriculture or tree work. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the guests, and their appearance on the podcast does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The podcast and its hosts are not to be held responsible for misuse, cited, and or uncited copies of the content within this podcast by others. The Tree Thinking Podcast may not be reproduced or distributed without the express written consent of the Tree Thinking Podcast.
When the world broke, we were no longer allowed to have social contact unless absolutely necessary. For a lot of us tree climbers, that meant no competitions in 2020. While we tried to figure out what to do, almost all hope was lost until we heard about the 2020 Rescue Rally. Could we put a team together? Heck, could we even get selected? On this episode of Tree Thinking, we tell the story of how Team Eugene came together, put our best foot forward while trying to not totally embarrass ourselves in the 2020 Rescue Rally. All right, and we're back. This week we're going to be talking about the 2020 Rescue Rally, which we all had a great time at and look forward to getting into this. But before we get started with that, we'll do some introductions. My name's Andrew. You can find me on Instagram at NWTreeGuy.
I'm Corey. You can find me at ShieldCo21.
I am Becca. My handle is rainbow_volcano.
Jamie, it's modern_arb.
Awesome. Well, we're going to kick this episode off. It's pretty sweet. We got Nick Bonner of TreeStuff to come on and talk to us, and we discussed how the idea came about, kind of some of the stuff that we all learned about it, and then we get in a little bit to what we can expect moving forward from TreeStuff. It was an awesome conversation. It was great talking to Nick, and we'll get into that conversation right now. So here's Nick Bonner with TreeStuff. All right, we're lucky enough to have Nick Bonner of TreeStuff on the Tree Thinking Podcast today. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Hi, Andrew. Hi, everyone. We're doing good.
Excellent. Well, we had a lot of fun doing the rescue rally, and this whole episode is going to be about breaking it down and kind of from our perspective, and we'll go over all the scenarios and go over all that. But to get started, we just thought we'd talk with you a little bit, Nick, and just get an idea for how the rescue rally came up. And, maybe we'll even get into if you have anything in the future that you wanted to talk about. But to start out, I figure we have 3 questions that we ask to just kind of get things going. What is your favorite tree?
What is my favorite tree? Wow, that wasn't the first question that I expected. I have a really big white oak out in my backyard, and I really like that. I've always liked the shape of white oak leaves, but I think maybe the ginkgo is probably my favorite
Okay.
tree,
Oh,
just
good
because I
choice.
think the fan leaves are really unique, and I like that it's the oldest living species, that we have that's still alive on Earth. I think that's a really interesting kind of trivia fact about it, and the fact that its leaves are unique. I would say the ginkgo,
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their
Solid
fall
choice.
the
color is
male
awesome.
one,
They're-
not the female one, though, because they drop their berries
yeah.
Good
No.
distinction there.
Yeah.
and they smell.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, nice. That's a really good choice. There, some of my favorite pictures of trees are those old ginkgos at the temples. I think they're old Japanese temples, and man, just beautiful trees that have been taken care of for hundreds of years. Those do stand out.
Those yellow halos around when the
Yeah.
leaves all
When the
fall.
leaf drop, yeah.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Cool trees. All right, and Nick, what's your favorite climbing technique? That's our second question.
My favorite climbing technique would probably be lead climbing and rock climbing.
Oh,
Climbing
rock
on
climber.
the sharp end of the rope,
Yeah.
and climbing above your anchor and pushing. But if we're limiting it to tree climbing, I was a big fan of SRT right from the get-go, because I was a rock climber first. I was one of those people that we would shame on Tree Buzz now for doing tree work with a gree and a rock climbing rope.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite technique would probably be using a mechanical climbing device like a rope runner with a foot ascender and a Haas or some kind of bungee knee ascender. It's just so efficient.
Just rope walking.
Super easy to use.
Yeah, I think everybody here climbs on the rope runner in a similar fashion. It's really hard to beat that.
Yeah,
setup.
and I've advanced, like on a base tie, I've advanced like lead climb, rock climbing style, just sling and beaner above, each and everything, and just keep going up until your final point.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
There's certain ways to bring elements of sport into work sometimes, which is fun.
Yeah, it's always interesting seeing guys that come in from the rock climbing background, because they have a total different perspective on working in height, and then also the feel of a rock compared to the feel of a tree. And when you first started, did that kind of trip you out? I've known a few rock climbers that just did not like the feel of a tree because it moved in the wind and all that kind of stuff.
I was a tower hand before I was a tree climber, so I went from climbing with kind of like 180 degrees of exposure against the cliff to 365 degrees of exposure. And in the tower you weren't really high until you were above the trees, because that's when you would start to feel the wind. So when I went into trees, the climbing was very low to me and felt just very kind of pedestrian. So I was really able to focus on the technique and learning. The height didn't really bother me, and the moving didn't either, because the towers tended to just kind of sway and swing in the wind as well.
Yeah, that's a trip. I've always kind of wanted to try it, and in my head I'm like, oh yeah, I could definitely do that. But those towers are so high, that's got to test you in a different way than being up a tree.
Yeah, it's soulless and boring. It doesn't have anything that makes tree climbing great and wonderful. The way every tree is a different problem, and it's so unique and it's kind of fun and a different puzzle. The towers are all the same. They're just all kind of terrible.
All right, question 3 is a tough one. It's what are you wearing?
I'm almost always wearing the same thing, so it's pretty easy. I usually wear a pair of jeans and a Patagonia R1.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's either that or a pair of sweatpants and an R1 or a button down.
All right.
Perfect.
Pretty much all the time.
I was worried that might be a little bit more of a dangerous question because it's so much later on the East Coast. We don't want to catch you off guard.
No, I've always been a nighttime showerer, so this is actually about the time that I shower. So you might have gotten me at the wrong time. But.
Yeah, perfect. Well, those are the three questions that we've kind of designed to kind of get a feel for who you are as a tree guy, and then also just kind of loosen up the conversation and get people laughing.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
So we'll, I guess now we'll start the next questions.
First question for you is, how did you first start in the industry here?
Oh, that's a good question. I want to say that I loved your performance when you were the voice actor for Scenario 2. You just kept bringing me back and making me laugh so hard as I watched that, and I was like sending people messages. I'm like, this lady, I was like, she's killing me.
Honestly,
I sounded like so exasperated, like, oh, guys, are you gonna rescue me?
I had the best time ever that whole day. I was just sitting in a tree screaming, like living out my wildest cicada dreams.
I wish we could have got some of the
that
B-roll
was
that we had from that. 'Cause there was some solid gold in some of those too.
Yeah, thank you for that huge compliment. I appreciate it.
To your question, I was a tower climber, and I didn't really like it very much, so my heart wasn't in it, and I lost my job. And I went to my rock climbing gym, and there was this guy who parked his trucks right in the parking lot of our rock climbing gym. And he had tree trucks, and I was like, hey, you know what, man? Like, if you pay me $10 an hour, I'll come out and I'll work for you until you decide to pay me more. And I have no idea how to run a chainsaw, but I can drill a 2-inch hole in a brick wall hanging from a harness, like with a right angle drill. Like I can operate a tool, and I know how to hang a harness, right? And he was like, you're hired.
Nice.
And that was Parks Tree Service. And, I worked for Justin and a guy named Chris, and just started doing tree work. And, very shortly after that, I had a grounds person named Billy, and I was kind of driving a truck by myself. And that was the beginning of how I got into tree care, if that's the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's real interesting. The tree industry, I've known people that have gotten jobs like that. They'll come into a new city, and they'll just figure out what company they want to work with, and they'll just tell them, hey, I'll work a day for free, and then tell me what you think. And I don't know very many other industries that are like that, where you just go to somewhere and be like, I'll work a day for free for you, and then you decide and have that work out. It's kind of, there's cool stories like that. You ran into a guy in a parking lot and just said, hey, I'll work for you, and you pay me more when it's worth it.
Yeah, you can't do that at a Starbucks or something.
Yeah, especially in tree care, where there's so many people that need people. The biggest thing that our customers tell us is that they can't find the right people. So, if you're a good tree care worker and you hate your boss and hate your job, you should go somewhere else, because there's somebody that wants you.
Yeah,
for
there's
sure.
a right fit out there for sure. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our next question is, when the kind of world got crazy, when COVID hit and the economy started tanking, I think most businesses were looking at how they could get conservative and pull back, and really, they weren't getting creative. And then there's TreeStuff, who's out there coming up with a virtual tree climbing competition, something that's never done before, and you guys are pulling on the trigger on that. So, kind of what led to that the rescue rally coming around, and you guys deciding that, hey, let's try something new right now?
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, obviously everyone was kind of like, what do we do? And everybody went into kind of like a freeze time. And we've always been really big on events at TreeStuff, and competition is kind of something that's really fun for us, and for everyone on the team really enjoys it. And I think that we were all kind of bummed that it looked like there was going to be no competition. And we really wanted to do something, and we wanted to do something virtually. So, we were like, okay, let's have a virtual climbing competition, and started thinking about it. And it was really difficult because, how do you, like, it's not like 100-yard dash, right? You can't run 100 meters and I run 100 meters and we both say it was 100 meters.
Yeah.
The trees are different, so there's really no way to qualify, I think, like an objective winner to events. and that's kind of where we got to aerial rescue as an idea, where we could make it super, objective on purpose, right? Or super subjective. And it just, after brainstorming with the team, we decided that aerial rescue was the right way. And, it just kind of came about, I guess. I think a really terrible answer. But we just wanted to provide something that, gave people the opportunity to get engaged from home, get engaged with their crews that they were already working with. We had seen, I think at the point that we started it, that tree care was still going to be an essential work. So we knew that the crews were together, but that we couldn't get like multiple crews together. So we had to figure out something that people could do with just their group, and then a way for people at home to get involved. And the rescue rally is what we came up with.
It worked perfect. Yeah, well, that's how we got there. Before the rescue rally hit, we were having conversations in the field of how a lot of us compete locally. And so we were like, how can we get a competition, even if it's just people we know, but it, kept coming back to how are you going to compete against someone if you can't be around someone? And, we just weren't coming up with anything. And so you kind of saved our bacon, when all of a sudden we started seeing the advertisements and emails, and we got fired up. It was pretty cool and fun for us, and it became a work event. And again, it's COVID, so we're trying to figure out how to do kind of a crew training, and we're also trying to figure out how to kind of do a camaraderie team building exercise. And this just hit the nail on the head, especially the first video we did. We had the supervisor of our section out being, that was the homeowner that came out to ask if everything's okay. I mean, we had everybody in the program was plugging in and just wanted to be part of it. And it really created a cool kind of fun energy within the team. And then so we work for Public Works here at Eugene, and
right.
Even today I had someone from one of the parks crew come in and be like, hey man, I heard about that competition you guys did. That is so cool that you guys came in second in this national competition. Good job, guys. Way to represent. So it was really cool.
You guys really stood out. I mean, a city crew, from Eugene, just coming out of nowhere. I mean, there were some heavy duty people competing, and you guys killed it.
Oh yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We just head down.
We were so fired up, man. We're all sitting at home, just ready to go. All the comps are canceled, and then we hear this, and we were ready to go.
Yeah, and we kind of wanted to kind of distinguish ourselves, because the city arborist has a bit of a reputation, and so this is like, hey man, we're going to represent for our job here, for what we do. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
Yeah, the aerial rescue is like perfect for this kind of competition, because you said like it's subjective judging, like it would be really hard to set up a work climb, even if you did parameters and all this stuff like you did, like tie-in points are this far from this far, all that stuff. Aerial rescue was definitely like the perfect one to start off on, and I look forward to seeing what else you guys come up with.
Well, hopefully we're able to come up with something new and unique. We always, I think, get worried that next time we won't have a good idea, or that it'll be a bad idea. So, that always kind of plagues me, that fear. But we'll see what's next.
Cool.
I look forward to it.
All right. Next question we got. Looking back at the experience, was there anything unexpected that came out of it? Was it good or bad?
At first it was great. It was definitely a great event. The teams that we had were awesome, right? The amount of content that our team was able to develop, and the amount of work that we were able to do with the resources we had, it was a huge win, I think, for everybody. So thumbs up all around. I think what's really cool is that in addition to having a fun and engaging competition, something that you guys and I think, 9 other teams or 12 other teams were able to get involved in from around the country, and then people voted, watched and voted all around, was that we created essentially like the definitive training resource or lexicon on aerial rescue. Like, there's a lot of stuff about how to cut a notch out there, but there's not a lot of stuff about how to conduct a rescue. And they're, the ISA has done a great job, right? They have been blazing the trail in aerial rescue training, and they deserve a ton of credit for it. But the videos of those events leave a little bit to be desired, right? They're, they're from friends and, bystanders outside the tape, and what can they do, right? We produced like 30 videos, and, a lot of them are really great, right? And, to be able to see, like, even like there was only 3 scenarios, like each team kind of approached it differently and had a different tree and a different, strategy. So it really is like 30 different rescues. And, I think if you're serious about teaching your crew about aerial rescue, or you're serious about learning about it yourself, you should be watching these, not necessarily as like an example of everything perfect to do. There were a lot of mistakes that were made by the teams, but as a learning exercise, right? You can look back at it and learn from it. So I think like that's, if you ask what's surprising that came out of it, was that we were able to create such a cool and what I hope will be a durable and lasting training resource for people.
Oh yeah. The company I used to work for, actually, they do a safety meeting every week, and I actually told them like, hey, go look at all these videos. That could be a safety meeting. Pick it apart. What did they do wrong? What did they do right? Exactly like you're saying, you created this awesome resource that people could use at their tailgate safety meetings every week.
Yeah, you watch one video, a month, right? You do other tailgates, right? You talk about backing the chipper up, things like that, right? But once a month, you watch one of these videos, and then, what did they do right? What did they do wrong?
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah. One of the things that stood out for me with these videos is most of the aerial rescue trainings we do, you get someone that climbs up in the tree, and then, you're just, talking, and there's no intensity to it. But when it was a scenario where you're playing it out, and there's a little bit of pressure because the camera's rolling, so you want to get it, you don't want to mess up. It's nowhere near a pressure of an actual rescue, but it added this extra element that you'd find yourself getting into this video, and your adrenaline would start going a little bit, and it kind of added a whole different element to the training.
The competition is the best aerial rescue training I've ever had. It really was, because we put so much time into it, and like you said, we got into it, like we were acting, and you would feel the pressures and stuff, and the best training.
Well, that role playing showed, and it really added to it, and it was different in in ISA events or other events. You see people, they run in, they got a backpack with a 5-to-1 system in it. They're like Iron Man with all their tools coming out of their sleeves and stuff. And it's cool, right?
Yeah.
But like it's not realistic. And in these events, it's kind of like watching like Lifetime television documentaries, right? I mean, nobody's like George Clooney out there, but like everybody was acting, and it was really good, and it was suspenseful. And I mean, my hands were sweating when I was watching these videos, I kept having to like put my hands in my pockets, and I'm like, God, like, when's this gonna end? And like, it's just too, like, it was real. There was real, like, measurable tension, and they were so fun to watch. That was another thing, that tension. I never expected that. I never expected to feel like suspense or on edge while I was watching them. And I honestly and truthfully did. I really did.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's definitely, we were doing the same thing, when we'd get all excited. I think the videos are coming out. They'd all come out, and we'd sit around in the
just
shop.
hitting refresh on
and then we'd just go through all the videos and break down and be like, oh man, that was a really great trick that person used right there.
Why didn't we think of that?
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Well, that kind of wraps up the questions we had for you. I just wanted to throw it out there. If you had any questions you wanted to ask any of us, I figured this would be a good opportunity.
Oh yeah, I mean, which challenge did you like the best? Which one was the most realistic, did you think? So that's 2 different questions. Which one did you like the best?
Scenario 3, I think, was the most fun. It was a huge challenge, and I remember when we realized we could make the one side of the V-rig a lowerable system, we were like, oh, we cracked the code. And then it was so cool to see that other people did that too, 3 was my favorite. It was like, really technical, a lot to think about, and we were practiced and like ready, so that it was a lot of fun.
I would agree that 3 was a lot of fun. I think the most realistic one was probably 1. because I think that's a more realistic situation as far as a limb catching on somebody funny and having to free that limb off of them. I've actually heard of stories where that happened in real life, not the exact scenario, but where a branch didn't come down as planned and it kind of pinned the guy in the tree. So I think that's probably the most realistic.
Yeah, I think scenario 2 is pretty realistic too, though. I mean, I don't disagree. Scenario 1 was super realistic, but I think scenario 3, like, of all the scenarios, if I had to pick one that would like definitely happen, I think scenario 2 would. I could absolutely see that happening in real life.
What's funny is that a couple of weeks after we filmed the scenario 2 and it came out on the TreeStuff website, my boss at my other job, that actually happened to him. He did get his ankle stuck. He wasn't dangling upside down, screaming and having a great time. But but he did twist his ankle and get it stuck in a crotch. Oh, no. And it was so funny because he was like calling me Mandy all day. And then that happened to him. I'm like, that's what you got.
Mandy, I'm on my way.
Yeah. Thankfully, he was able to pull it out without any assistance. But he was like, oh, no, I twisted my ankle. But yeah, didn't require rescue. But if he did, I would have known just what to do.
A lot of tree rescues are, I think, pretty basic. Usually people are able to self-rescue, so we really wanted to try and find scenarios that were different, but plausible, right? But weren't as simple as just like, run up, grab prusik, come down, or like run up, pick off, come down, So we really tried to make them at least somewhat plausible, but still kind of push the limit a little. And it was really fun to see everybody do them and all the different approaches. Another question I had for you guys so I think one of the big things that we messed up with the event was the scheduling. We didn't, you guys were asked to do scenario 2 before scenario 1 results were given to you and you didn't have any feedback. And I think that was just a miss on my part for when I plotted the dates. I just totally biffed it. But other than the scheduling and the timing, which I'm sure would have been your first answer, what could we have done better in terms of organizing the event or communicating it to you or presenting it to the public? What do you think we could have improved on?
That's a good question.
It is.
Yeah. I hate to bring up what you brought up, but yeah,
it's a compliment.
Yeah,
the silence.
The schedule was a little on top of it. I know, not just for what you were saying as far as being able to learn from the other one, but it felt like a quick turnaround. Just by the time we got done with one and figured out one, we just had another one. Part of that was because we had a ton going on, So there's a couple of them where I was like, man, I wish we had an extra weekend. And we could have trained and break this down just a little bit more. That being said, that was probably the perfectionist within me, because really in the end, they all turned out great.
I think it would have been, I liked the feedback on the individual score sheets per scenario. And I don't know if this is like not okay or some people wanted to be anonymous, but I think it would have been interesting to see which judge had given which comment.
Right, and like the string of their comments, their comment history.
Yeah, because I imagine it wasn't just like one sentence that they had come up with for the whole thing. But I don't know, somewhere in between.
That was not something the judges asked for. That was just kind of a procedural decision that I think we made and then just rolled with.
Yeah, it was really good.
But I can certainly understand that.
Yeah. It was great to get it. I was just like, who said this?
Yeah. I think kind of.
What?
Go ahead.
No. Please continue.
I think kind of springboarding off that idea, I think it would have been kind of neat, like for a follow-up and for like a further learning opportunity to have like a Q&A between like some of the judges and then some of like the participants maybe. I don't know exactly how that would have worked or anything, but like having some like back and forth between like the participants and then the judges, like if the judges were to ask like, why did you use this scenario? And then like if we were to able to like justify it or, say why we did what we did, and maybe that would have brought more light to what you're seeing in the videos and kind of would have gotten through like our thought process when we were like doing certain things.
Mm-hmm. I think next time, our judges gave a ton of time. Mm-hmm. I told all the judges that there were not going to be more than 16, right? And that that I was going to eliminate teams, that there were going to be less videos each time, and it didn't turn out that way. There were 13 teams. We didn't cut, right? So they were asked to do a lot more than they were originally kind of pitched.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we didn't have the success of the event yet, right? I think now that with the success of this event, Davey obviously took it very seriously. I know that some of the other national accounts and large tree services felt left out or felt like maybe they missed it, missed an opportunity to really show themselves off.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll probably do the rescue rally again. And I think that we may be able to ask for more commitment from people and, be able to balance that against the success that we had this first time and maybe get, we wanted to do some shows and release some of the footage live, and we just weren't able to make it happen. It, just turned out to be more work, I think, than we were ready for at that time. But next year, we'll certainly try to do stuff like that. We wanted to have like a judge's call, and maybe we bring in like one person from each team and have like a big roundtable meeting or something. That could be fun.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
The fact that we all paused and couldn't really think of anything is like a huge compliment in that this is the first thing of its kind, and you guys did a great job. It was so much fun. We learned a lot, and we're very appreciative of you putting in the time. Everyone.
Yeah.
I've edited videos before.
We were blown away.
How much time that takes, and is it Kale? Is that he did all of it?
So Kale did all of the editing himself.
Wow.
There's some help. There's some additional help from folks like Carson, Gigi and Shannon, Quincy and Tracy on things like graphic setup and web page things. And then I do a lot of the spreadsheet stuff and the number hacking, and Kale helps me a lot with that. And then Kale and Carson do a lot of the kind of like event design with me.
Mm-hmm.
And the three of us work on those things together. But yeah, Kale does all of the video editing.
Yeah, but huge workload. And thank you for doing it. Thank you for putting in the time.
Yeah. It turned out so.
It was a lot of fun. I have another question for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Gauge for me your reaction when Davey had an ambulance the first time. Were you like, "Are you effing kidding me?" Or did you throw your hands up in the air? I mean, I threw my hands up in the air.
When they what?
Like,
I missed it.
When they had the ambulance for the
When Davey had an ambulance.
It kind of, the competitive side of me was like, God damn Davey. During that scenario too, we had all the wildfires that were happening on the West Coast were hitting right then. And so we were like, we didn't want to be pulling firefighter resources, and we had the firefighter in the one. So the second one, I was like, oh, they had to up our game when we couldn't even respond.
Yeah, because we had talked about doing that.
Yeah.
But hats off to Davey.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Yeah,
those-
that was awesome.
That was.
I like how you did that. Hats off to them for using an ambulance when it could have been out on the fire line.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, they weren't considerate. but honestly, that was the video we were always looking. When the new videos came out, we wanted to see what those guys were doing.
Yeah.
Because it was clear that those guys were setting the standard and setting the bar. And their videos were awesome to watch.
They totally crushed it.
Yeah.
But then every team would surprise us every time.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone
That's
did
true.
really well.
And everybody had something that they were just knocking out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't watch every video and if you didn't try to kind of learn from everyone, then you were missing out on something. It was really cool. To kind of go back to the other question you asked, it was one of the things that I don't know how you could really do this, but one of my favorite parts of a competition is getting together with all the other climbers and all the other competitors and trading tricks and, building that camaraderie. And I wish we could have done that with this one, because it seemed like there was just quality individuals involved, and, the judges were awesome. A lot of the judges around here are, I look forward to seeing them at the different competitions. So it would have been great to be able to see the judges and see the other competitors and just talk tricks and all that stuff. And for obvious reasons, we couldn't, but what a phenomenal event. I want to be respectful of your time. We've hit about a half hour on this conversation already, so I just want to throw that out there. if you have any other questions, we're happy to answer them. That being said, I know it's later over there, and if you got to go, I appreciate your time.
No, I think that this is really cool what you guys are doing with, the podcast, or, what is it? It's like radio, right? I guess. I think it's really cool. And, TreeStuff is super excited. I do want to talk a little bit about our community expert contest.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys get this episode released, while we're still running that. But if not, people can check out the content afterwards. But we have a contest where you can make a video teaching how to tie a knot or how to cut a notch, or a model breakdown of how top-down rigging works, or anything you want, how to sharpen your saw. And the more videos you make, the more essentially like accumulated points you can get from likes on your videos, where your friends and family can vote, or people on social media, whatever. And if you make a bunch of content, you can win one of $3,000 prizes. So it's $1,000. Pretty good prize.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're definitely planning on doing some of that. I'm thinking it wouldn't surprise me if when we try out the fusions, we'll probably spend some time making some videos while we're all out together, and just see what we can't come up with. I think we got a couple tricks between us that we can share.
Just a couple.
Awesome. Well, very cool. And we were so excited to have you guys as competitors in the rescue rally. And again, you represented yourself and your colleagues and your whole city really well on a national stage. And going up against people like the Davy corporate team, that's a real accomplishment. So thanks for doing that, and thanks for having me on your guys' show. And I wish you the best of luck. If there's anything we can do for you at TreeStuff, just let us know.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much. And anytime you guys want to be on, or if you have anything you want to talk about or get any word out, we're happy to have you. So till we talk to you next time, thanks for coming on TreeStuff. Or Tree Thinking.
Tree Stuff on Tree Thinking.
Yeah, Tree Stuff on Tree Thinking.
Sounds good, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Nick.
Bye.
See ya.
All right. Well, we are back. That was a great conversation with Nick. He seems like a pretty down-to-earth tree guy. It was great talking to him, and I look forward to a lot of the stuff that's coming out of TreeStuff, and a lot of the future programs they got going on, it sounds like.
Yeah. It was cool to talk to him in person, because I consume a lot of TreeStuff's content. You always see Nick Bonner, and he seems like quite a character, so it was good to sit down and talk to him and learn a little bit about him too. He climbed radio towers.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Neither did I. That's one of those things, man. Those things are really freaking high. And he was saying that it's a boring job, and I've heard that from other guys that it's not the best job. You're away from home a lot of time. You don't get to be with your family, but it's kind of one of those things that I would like to try at least once.
Like to try.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's often suggested on my YouTube thing, like suggestions for you, and you go down that rabbit hole. But I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. Especially I see the ones where they're at the top of the tower and it's just bolts coming out, right?
Yeah.
And there's like the nuts on the end of the bolts, and all they're doing is putting a carabiner on and kind of alternating.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know how it's done. That's just videos I've seen.
Yeah. No, it seems really sketchy. But aren't you just a little curious to see how high you could get on one of those things?
Yeah. I think the big difference, and he touched upon it when he was talking about it, is that he said they're all the same. They're basically the same. Yeah. Whereas trees, they're living beings. So they're all have their own unique, they have different bodies, they have different, issues or non-issues or fun things about them.
If you're limb walking on a radio tower, you're doing something wrong.
It's got a crooked top.
You don't want to go too far out on a limb.
Get out the angle grinder.
And great selections for favorite trees.
Oh yeah.
White oak, which shout out to Will. We got 2 white oaks, and then
although I think
ginkgo.
his was an eastern white oak though, because I think it's different over there.
Okay,
white
fair
oaks
enough,
everywhere though.
Yeah.
White oaks all around.
It's just everything's white oak.
Yeah, and the ginkgo. That is a great tree.
Stone
Bomber
cold
choice.
classic, right
there. Yeah. Living fossils. Can't go wrong.
Right on. Well, thanks, Nick, for coming on.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. So all of us here were part of every rescue rally scenario that we did in some way or another. There's a lot of other people on the team. And first of all, I want to thank everybody that helped us with the rescue rally. It was great. It was so much fun. I think as a group we became closer. Our aerial rescue skills took 1, 2, 3 steps up. And yeah, as a program, we're better for it. So again, thanks to Nick for putting it on.
I mean, what a great bonding experience. Like it was night and day, like before and after that. Like it was just like you'd gone through like this huge like, you know, team building experience, and like all of us were just like jiving so well at the very end of this thing. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't expect to come out of that. We got so much out of it that I never would have pegged like, hey, let's do an online competition and actually like get all of this out of it. Like it was mind blowing.
Yeah, I never felt more prepared for a rescue than after that.
Yeah.
And it's cool because, like he said, it's a lasting thing now. It's on YouTube, and you could tell people like, hey, use this, you know, in your safety meetings. Check these videos out. It's content that you can use, learn from, grow from.
Yep, and it's one of those things where, as a group, we were talking about how much we were going to miss competitions, and we were trying to think about how we could do it. So when that came along, you know, I remember at first, you know, so let's start going chronologically through this. Mm-hmm. At first, we all got together and, you know, kind of decided we want to do this. And it was kind of like, do we want to do this through the city? Do we want to do this on our own? What are we going to put into making the submission video? Because are we going to get selected? I don't know. Well, let's give it a shot.
They're only taking 6 teams. Do you think we can make it? We just have to beat out just a few people, right? Yeah. There's only 9 videos up, just 3 people. That's all we have to do.
So we went into production mode for that video.
Yeah, for our application video.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Because as soon as we heard it, we were like, we need this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a crazy team with all these people who have expertise in other things, like Eric, you know, photographer, videographer, brings all that equipment into the mix.
Yeah.
And then everyone here is just super experienced in the tree world. Yeah. And we are not actors, but we wrote a script up and we're like trying our best. It's like, okay, cut, take 2. All right, you know.
Well, it was funny because we'd be on the side of the road getting street clearance and be like, all right, so this is what the scenario says, and okay, maybe then you should say this, and then I'll say, well, that won't work. Then you know, and so we're on the side of the road doing our job, and then lunch would hit or a break would hit, and we'd just be sitting there typing it out into our phone, and you know, doing our best to get those ideas down. And
the later part of that was great because we actually started going through the script. Like we'd be saying, "Hey, Mandy, are you okay?" Yeah. How must that have looked to people seeing us in our Senna in the middle of the street in Eugene, and just be like, "What are these people doing?"
That guy's around here again yelling at himself.
Yelling at some invisible
kind of chainsaw walking up and down the street.
I think the funniest thing about what you're talking about, how you spent so much time trying to figure out what you were going to say and how things were going to play out, is that it wasn't until we started, you know, we would meet the Sunday before filming and like kind of walk through what the rescue technique was and what the like very loose script of it all would be. And it wasn't until we were actually filming that we worked out kind of these kinks that there were, and it really came together. So I think it's just like with the application video. I think we kind of like over-scripted it at first, and it was so
100%.
It was funny. Yeah. We were so nervous, like we had no idea what we were up against, right?
Yeah. So or what we were doing.
Yeah.
Still don't.
Yeah. We're like, we really got to represent for this application video. And then, you know, we could have just pulled out our cell phones and been like, hey, you know, we're Team Eugene. This is us, you know, and hopefully we would have got selected, but yeah, we definitely went for it.
Yeah. Hey, if you're going to do it, you better do it right.
Yeah.
I think that's a theme that has brought us to right here. You know, and I think we got that from the beginning. It was kind of like, all right, we're going to make this happen. Let's not embarrass ourselves. Yep. Let's do our best to show people what we can do.
Yeah. I think one of our big goals, like going into it, was we just have to do the best that we possibly can. And I feel like, you know, there were a few hiccups along the way, but I feel like we honestly did that. That was the best product that we could have made, given the parameters, given everything that was going on. Like we did, I feel proud of that. I feel really proud of that.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that whole process was awesome. But let's go back to
Scenario one.
Scenario one.
Yes.
We're doing. We've spent the time. We figured out script. We found the tree. We brought. The day before we go there, and I think it was me, Becca, and Jamie that day. Were you there?
I didn't make it for the training day.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so Jamie was training.
Maybe we should kind of say what the rescue rally was. Maybe most people know, but maybe they don't.
Okay.
Yeah. TreeStuff 2020 rescue rally was, all competitions got canceled this year, so they held an online aerial rescue competition. I think they put it out, put an application video in. We accept, 12 teams or something like that?
To be honest, I can't remember exactly, but
anyway, and the outline was they were going to have 3 scenarios. Each scenario has its specs. This tie-in point's this far from this tie-in point. This has to be this high from this. It was really cool. It's a subjective competition, but they definitely laid it out to where everyone's video is going to be kind of similar, as much as it can be with trees. So that's it. It's an online competition. Yeah. When all competitions were canceled, they came through and did this thing. We were stoked to be a part of it. But yeah, back to scenario one.
Yeah, so we were training the day before, and this is the first time we did it. By scenario 2, scenario 3, I had a lot more confidence because I'd been through the whole process before. Man, that first day, none of the lines that we had practiced were fitting like you would want them to. We kind of had figured out the plan more or less on how we were going to do it, and we'd run through it, 2 or 3 times.
We changed a few things, though.
Oh, yeah. Through the whole thing, it was evolving.
Yeah.
This was like you and I had no sleep that night.
That's right.
Oh,
you had that
right.
emergency.
Yeah, so there was an emergency job. We're crazy. All of us are crazy. We work like 6 or 7 days a week doing tree work. There's not a lot of free time. So we find this weekend that's going to work. That night before, my son was having a sleepover. I was up till probably 11:30 playing video games with the boys. Send them off to bed, hang out, do my own thing. I probably didn't get to bed till 12:30 at night. At about, 1, my phone rings. And, being a municipal arborist, our job is if there's something wrong, if there's a tree issue in the city, it is on us to take care of it right then. And so I get the call, hey, there's a tree issue. I need you to go check it out. They give me the address. I'm like, all right, I'll swing by. And they say, I'm not sure how big it is. The police called it in. They didn't leave a car on site, which means if they don't leave someone there, it's probably not a crazy situation that they feel they have to secure. But they said it's a large branch that's broken over the street. So I head out there, I drive to it, and there's this giant big leaf maple, and it's not a large branch. It's a freaking trunk.
Yeah.
Like 15 feet off the ground. What do you think the DBH of the trunk was?
14? Does that sound crazy?
I mean, I was thinking
It
even.
does.
I was thinking even bigger.
Judging from the tear out, because we did the removal on that afterwards, probably 20s, pushing 20s.
Yeah, it was at least 60 feet long.
Oh, yeah.
If not longer, honestly, because it was going up. So it ripped out. It didn't break, or it broke, but it didn't detach from the trunk. So it broke and rested in a tree on the other side of the street. So I think the log was a 50-foot log that we ended up lowering.
Well, it was the length of the street, sidewalk to sidewalk.
Yeah.
Two-lane residential road.
Yeah, so probably 30 feet maybe?
Yeah.
Was that 30, 40 feet?
I think I remember you talking about it initially, and I think it was like 35 feet you were saying.
Yeah.
It was like 35 to 40 feet.
So it is a legitimate predator log. I'm trying to think, and this is all happening in the dark. Jamie has a spotlight that he's shining where I'm working, and I'm in the boom truck like booming up to doing this extremely technical rigging. Mm-hmm. It was 2 GRSs.
Yeah, 2 GRCS.
2 porter wraps.
Good control rig. GCRS.
Yeah.
What is it?
Good.
Yeah.
GRCS.
GRCS. Good rigging control system.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
2 of those. Do we have porter wraps set up?
There was at least 1 porter wrap because we secured both the ends, and then we needed the porter wrap because we were lowering. After we secured it, we needed to do lower downs.
Other pieces. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was me, Jamie, and a guy from Parks, Danny's an awesome dude, and he's down to get down. But it's not like we had an experienced arborist there that understand it. Luckily, though, he's down to get down. So if it's 2 in the morning and we're like, "Hey, Jamie, can you haul brush?" He's like, "Sweet." Middle of the night, middle of the street, he's hauling brush. But yeah, I think we were out there for 7 hours.
Yeah, I feel like it was like 2 a.m. and then we just went to work right after, right?
Yeah, so I met you guys at the
So-
park at like 11
No,
a.m.
because it was a Sunday.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
It was Sunday.
Yeah.
So it was Saturday night, and then I remember I went home, and as I came home, Lacey was still in bed, but she was just kind of waking up, and she's like, "What are you doing up?" or something, And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just getting in. I've been working all night." And then she's all, "No, you haven't." And then she rolls over, and I'm just dirty, bowling tree gear. She's like, "You've been out all night." She was just sleeping like a baby. She didn't even notice. Yeah. And so I laid down for about an hour. I got an hour's worth of sleep, and then went and met you at the park.
Yeah, I met you guys there at 11, and I had just I was coming back from this awesome camping trip. And I'm just like, "Hello. Hi. How's it going, guys?" And you're both like, "Ugh.
Yeah.
Let's just do this."
Semi-delirious.
I'm like, "I thought we wanted to do this."
Yeah.
It was
I had
great.
totally forgot
That was awesome.
That was all part of, and it was so much fun once we started doing it. I remember being exhausted, but you've kind of pushed past that point of cranky tired, and you're just euphoric tired.
Yeah, you hit that second wind, and then all the good creative juices start flowing.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we did work it out, and we got like a really decent framework for when we actually did the filming. We had a pretty solid idea of what we were going to do and how it was going to look and where, potential camera angles could be and things like that. So
Yeah, we had the big picture, and everything obviously changes when everyone gets there and you're running through it in real time.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it was
not only that, but I remember the next morning, it's like, all right, we trained tomorrow. We're going to be good to go. Or was it the next morning, or was it 2 days later? Anyways, that morning I get a text from Jamie.
Oh, I broke my finger.
Yeah, you're like, I don't
right.
think I'm going to be able to do it, dude. And
I was going to be the climber on the first scenario. Yeah.
So Andrew comes screaming down the hall, not literally just walking fast down the hall, looks me right in the eye, and he's like, "Jamie's out. Looks like you're in." I'm like, cool.
yeah.
I have never even seen this tree before.
Yeah. Well, I got faith in you, man. I knew you could do it.
And he still crushed it.
You totally crush it.
Yeah.
And I knew that I think I had the most lines in that first scenario.
Yeah.
And so I had to remember all these lines. And so I thought it would be harder to be like, "Corey, now you got to remember all these cues and all these lines and all these points."
No, that
I knew you'd be able to climb it.
right.
And there's a few lines in there for sure.
Yeah, but I feel like you were pretty instrumental on that. Like, you guided the cadence of that entire rescue, and that was definitely like, if you hadn't been practicing that up to that point, like, that was definitely, I think it was a wise move. It was like putting me as a climber and having you just keep that cadence, because otherwise I think it would have been.
Yeah.
We
It was
would have- I
Corey,
think-
I think there's an
Yeah, you don't wanna
interesting
listen.
point there about having all these lines to remember. Like, we scripted it out, and people could pick that apart, like, "Oh, that rescue was so scripted."
Yeah.
But honestly, that played a big part in us getting into the role, and it just definitely helped it feel more real than other times we've done rescue, where you just show up and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'll come get you down," and you go through the motions. But us actually having, it was like a little theater, in the park.
Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about the actual scenario, I think,
Yeah.
in scenario one.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, sure, yeah. It was, I think we should just talk about all the scenarios.
All the
But,
scenarios, Tom.
Yeah.
Scenario one was interesting. It was a climber. I think he had to be 20 feet off the ground. His name was Dean. Poor Dean.
Poor Dean.
Dale.
Dean Dale.
Dean Dale.
We started calling him Dean Dale because there was some confusion.
I'm still honestly confused. Which is
I think it was supposed to be Dean. Anyways, he was 20 feet off the ground, and what had happened, we had to find a log that was 10 inches in DBH and at least 6 feet long. It's like, that's a fat log. And what had happened in the scenario is he was cutting, and there was a stub on the end of said log that ended up pulling him and his work positioning lanyard into the trunk that he was around. So he was just like suffocating, and then there's this log you have to reckon with. So that was the scenario we were given, and
then he had his access line, or his line, and he was on a single rope access line. That was still, like, the rope and everything was not compromised. And then there was also a double rope access line already set up in the tree.
Yeah, so we didn't have to set any lines for the rescue, but we did have that heavy log and poor Diener.
Yeah, that was cool. And, you know, as soon as we got the scenario, we started going over, like, how do we do this, you know? And we came up with 10 different ways.
Yep.
And we saw those 10 different ways in the videos, which was so cool, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, pull out the chainsaw, cut it. Like, that's, you know, that's quick, and, you know, why not?
I think that was literally one of our first ideas. Let's just let's bust out the
Yeah.
chainsaw.
Then we're like, well, maybe that's a little bit too cowboy.
Yeah, pull out a 5-to-1 and lift it off, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that what Davey did? So, some people did that.
Someone did
Lift
that.
the log,
Yeah.
lift the climber, like, you know, lower the climber, all sorts of stuff, you know?
So do we want to pull it up on here? I think we'll be able to play it on YouTube and just funnel the audio from the computer right through this whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, then we'd have to go through.
Well, I say we talk about it, finish talking about it, and then let's just watch it. You know, because what is it? Like a 10-minute video.
10-minute video.
Yeah, it could be fun to kind of watch it, and it's been a while since I've watched these videos and kind of see how it's done. And hey, if you got any questions, they're all on YouTube. TreeStuff Rescue Rally, or TreeStuff 2020 Rescue Rally, Team Eugene Scenario 1, 2, and 3. They're all on there.
Primo quality content right there.
It's pretty good. One thing I did want to talk about with Scenario 1 that was fun was the hiccup that we did run into. I feel like we had a lot of really good takes, and the best one that we sent in ultimately did have a little we put a wig on the dummy.
Yep.
Like, oh, this is funny. This is going to be so funny, but it ended up and it says so in the user's manual of the rope runner to get your hair caught
Get your hair
into
away from it.
but the old hair wig hair got caught into it.
Yeah.
And it was we could just see Corey like doing the descent, like,
Does anybody have some scissors?
Yeah, and he's like, honestly, it looked really smooth. Like, nobody said anything about that in the comments or any of the feedback, so it was seamless.
It's true, but it was definitely there.
Yeah, no. We also
like I stepped away from it. I was like, try to stand in front of the camera.
and we never put a wig on the dummy again.
Nope, no more wigs. The rest of our dummies were bald, even Mandy.
Even Mandy, poor Mandy. Oh man.
All right, you guys want to check this out?
Let's hit it.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I'm done.
Let me turn this so we can all see it real quick. Yeah, and I'll give it some volume, but let's any commentary is welcome.
Now that is some music. That is an intro right there.
Yeah.
I want that to be my alarm.
I have a
Scenario
heart
1.
attack every morning. I shot Andrew.
Dean, you okay, buddy?
Not really. I missed you.
Radio silence.
Okay.
Dean is not responding. Everybody assume our...
I like how our sound effect for a giant log, like, hitting the tree was a little...
Sticks clapping together. I don't know how many times I climbed that damn tree.
Yeah.
Both of them.
He's got a big log hanging on his lanyard.
We had someone whose job was to clap the sticks.
Can you say overproduced?
Well, and
Honestly, though, it's good to have.
this is the one that everybody was excited for. We had people down those paths to make sure people wouldn't walk into the shot.
Yeah.
You know.
I just want to point out how dapper that mullet looks. That is an underrated piece of kit right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Petzl nape, but we call it the Moulet because
It's called a nape.
nape.
That makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's why we renamed it.
I like it. I like how you were able to slide the rope runner right through on the tail there.
That thing
It's
is
funny.
So slick.
That's something I've never thought of. But now, after this video, like seeing you guys do it, I'm like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I put my rope runner on.
Yeah, it's so much
when I
easier.
can,
Right.
I'll just feed it on.
It's so much better than taking it all apart.
It
Yeah.
It was so slick.
Yeah, if you route the rope correctly, you can just slide your rope runner on the end of your rope.
A little behind the scenes here. Jamie's actually up in the tree, and he's going to be feeding me lines because this is actually the first time I've ever competed in an aerial rescue thing, and I'm not that good.
I would disagree with that, dude. You're a badass.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
okay, I'm not that good at the talking part.
Yeah.
The climbing's easy.
I was trying to mess him up the whole time.
He was.
You're doing great.
Kept saying stuff about hammers.
Yeah. Corey, there's a hammer behind you.
Also, like the video quality.
Pretty top notch.
We were
I
just saying
wonder
that.
who did that.
Yeah.
All right, gang, we're almost there. Take time, man. All right, looks like the lanyard is caught on this piece of wood he was trying to cut out. Let me see if I can't.
You guys okay?
We have the situation under control,
Do
ma'am.
you need me to call 911?
We have already
It
called.
was fun scouting for trees.
Okay, I'll be
Yeah.
Like this one was like, it's convenient, but it's still a cool tree. But for, was it scenario 3? It was really specific, and you and I drove around all day. We met up to like practice, but we ended up just driving around all day looking for the perfect tree.
You guys picked.
It was like the last spot we found.
It was
Yeah.
great.
You know.
I think all the trees were great choices.
Oh
Yeah.
Like Dean's line is good.
We are lucky in the Pacific Northwest. The options of trees we have to climb.
All right, I'm gonna flake this back so the carabiner's on top. You want to run this over to the porter wrap so we're ready to hook it up?
Backing up a little bit, that initial swing, I don't remember what take this was. I think this was like 7. It was one of the last takes we did that day. I was pretty gassed at this point, and so every other time I hit that swing just fine.
yeah.
But this was
Just
the
on
only
that
one
one.
that I missed it on.
Sure.
That's why we
Corey.
chose it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna make this guy with it.
We got it because you can
It's
see.
not hard, but we're gonna do it.
We can see the sweat just dripping down your forehead on that shot. That's why we did it. One of the interesting things about this whole process is I would vocalize like, all right, we're going to flake all the rope out and then we're going to flake it back in just to make sure, in a real situation, you're not telling,
No.
you'd have to figure out how to explain what you're doing so the judges knew what you were doing.
I was a little worried about all of these parts because I feel like I jostled the dummy a little bit more than I wanted to, like the dummy and the log.
Injured climber in the tree who's non-responsive. There's an aerial
Yeah, it's a
rescue
little
partner.
different when it's like
Corey is performing the aerial
a
rescue.
dummy and not a real
That,
tree.
yeah,
You don't really
dude,
have
that little part there when I first saw that, how they actually cut to it, you putting the tether on, I was like, oh, that's the money shot.
Yeah.
Because that, right away you're securing the dummy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
From the log. And I'm going to talk to Corey and see if I can do a patient assessment.
Sounds good, thank you.
Ben rocked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben did
That,
great.
that was a last minute thing. That was the firefighters that I had talked to come had stuff come up. They weren't able to do it. And Ben was off that day. And so I was texting him and he's like, well, I don't know if I can make it. I got to get permission from my chief and all this stuff. And so I wasn't sure till that day if he was going to show up. But sure enough, he showed up and he just crushed it, which isn't surprising. He's a good arborist too.
Like he's having a hard time breathing. I want you in charge of the rescue. I'm going to stay out of your way. If you can do anything to adjust the lanyard to help with his breathing, that would be good. If anything changes, starts bleeding, anything like that, I want you to tell me so that we can figure out a plan to try to stop it, okay? Copy that. I'm going to be on standby. If you need anything, I'm right here. Copy that. All right.
All right, Ivory, Becca, we're going to,
Can you redirect? Oh, never mind. I got it.
all right. We're
Oh.
gonna, two of us will need to tighten it. Once he gets that secured to the lowdown, we'll grab the tag line, and then after two of us have tightened it up, I'll shift over, and then Becca, you and me, we'll
Trying to
pull it
remember
out.
lines.
We'll-
Trying to remember lines. And then we'll do this.
You're saying them with such authority.
Yeah,
You
I've got
really are.
acting skills like Captain Kirk right here. We will save the dummy.
Redirect the rope.
Raise the log.
Almost ready to tension it.
Dean.
Okay.
Deandale.
tension it. All right. Right. Okay. I'm going to connect Gene to my bridge.
I said that, but I didn't actually do it because I wanted that log to be completely free. So I don't connect him here yet. I wait until that log is free.
Oh, but you do it.
I do it, yeah. But I didn't want it.
Okay, stand clear. This log come loose.
Oh, look at that log go.
So smooth.
So smooth.
Oh,
So smooth.
smooth.
Except they called us out on it anyway.
All right, let's go clear out that brush.
Whatever.
As soon as that's down.
All right, coming under, Corey.
Copy. I got a rope coming down. All clear? Rope coming down. Okay.
So safe.
So safe.
He's clipped into my bridge.
And that's the point where I connected him to my bridge.
Pull some of these ropes out of the brush.
But again, part of this was verbalizing the plan so they knew what you're going to do. Even if in a real scenario, you're just getting it done.
They showed your hops there, Andrew.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basketball all-star Andrew. Number 24, Myra.
Yeah. Basketball all-star in my imagination only.
I can jump higher than I can, so.
Okay. EMS prepare.
EMS is ready.
Oh, here's the.
And this is where we run into a
This is
problem.
where we get the
Oh,
wig and
Right.
the rope
Oh, you
runner.
can see it.
Yeah, you can see it.
Just a big old wad of hair.
Well, and it's funny at the end, you'll see me like put my arm in front of it because I'm trying to block the camera angles because it was so caught
was
up.
bad,
I
yeah.
still have that wig.
Okay,
It-
so
yeah, it's great.
And right here, I realize we have a real problem.
I got my hair stuck in a rope runner one time, like pretty bad, and I ended up just. It was in there. I tried to like ascend a little more and pull it. Anyways,
Oh, no.
I ended up just ripping it out and hoping that a bird would make a nice nest out of it.
Yeah.
That's where my bald patch came
Seen
from.
Nice.
plenty
Yeah.
of pictures of that, or like beards getting caught.
Yeah.
I used to
rope
have
bridge
long
and
hair,
stuff.
and I can't tell you how many times I had my hair stuck in ropes. Oh.
But it's in the user's manual. Not the
Yeah.
See, backing up right in front of the
Yep.
camera, trying to
Me
block
putting
it.
my
Yeah,
arm
yeah.
right, hugging the rope or the rope runner.
No blood.
I was hiding behind the tree here.
Like everybody else backs up, but I'm just like, I'm just gonna hang out here, and hopefully they don't notice the head is off the ground right now.
You're holding C-spine, or
Yeah.
at least you were, and then you let it
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. So that was the first scenario. I think that turned out pretty well.
That was all right.
Corey's
It
not
turned out
impressed.
pretty good too.
So what are our takeaways from scenario one?
No wigs.
No wigs. That was our major thing that we changed.
Yep.
And then also I think just being flexible in terms of the plan and like being open to when everyone's on site what their ideas are. Because just you, me, and Jamie being there, Andrew, for the week before, it changed. A lot of things changed when everyone else was out there and we're throwing ideas out. I think the conglomeration of everything made it what it was, and yeah.
Definitely.
One of the things I really took away from it, one, the acting out, like I talked about in the interview with Nick, as there's a little bit of an intensity there because you don't want to mess up. The cameras are rolling, and while that's not the same intensity that comes in a real rescue scenario, it's still something that kind of gets your blood pumping a little bit. But then the production side, it was from where we started, trying to figure out stuff and there were so many moments of like, this is not coming together. Mm-hmm. This is going to be bad. What did we get ourselves into? And then that was the final product. I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was
pretty cool.
Legitimately awesome. Davey deserves everything they got. But when I saw that video, I was like, I think we might win this.
Yeah.
I think we might win this scenario here. I was really proud of that.
If we hadn't had that wig, we might have.
Yeah. Well, what you're going to do.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So scenario 2 was fun. It was a climber who, I'm just going to be the scenario announcer.
Yeah.
She had gotten a brand new saw. Mandy, what was it? Something.
Danger. Mandy Danger.
Mandy Danger. They kept coming up with really fun names for these victims.
What was Dean's first and last
like
name? And
Speed Demon
Speed
Dean.
Demon
Dean,
Dean
yeah.
and
Yes.
Mandy Danger. Mandy had gotten a new saw, was excited. she had her lanyard, her work positioning lanyard was slack, and she cut her climbing line. And as she cut her climbing line and her lanyard being slack, the way she was stepping, her ankle gets caught in this crotch, twists up, she's stuck hanging upside down, and that is our scenario for 2.
And she also has a friction saver up top. There is rope in it, but it's not usable. The friction saver is good to go, though, so you can use the friction saver for something.
Well, and I don't think they said you could or couldn't use the rope. I think that was us just saying that. Because other teams used it.
They used the rest of her rope that was running down to the ground, right? There was a certain team that did that. I'm not going to name any names. But the rope that was in the friction saver was not usable because there wasn't enough to like reach the ground, and it was like a 10-foot section.
But what he's saying is that wasn't in like
no.
Hey, you
It
can't
wasn't
use
in
this rope.
the
We just like
specifications,
determined it unuseful.
But it probably should be best management practice. You know, if
Yeah.
you've got a cut rope, you know that core can slide through the cover, and you can't inspect that. And you're not going to be like in a rescue scenario. Let's be realistic here. You're not going to inspect a rope that's been cut. Like you're going to get a brand new rope, and you're going to get the victim down. Like that's what I think. Just
all right. So before we get too much into the actual scenario and us making the decisions we made along the way, leading up to this scenario was kind of crazy.
I feel like this is the one we were least prepared for, just because just didn't have the time
because the whole world was burning down.
Yeah.
The skies were dark with smoke here. I mean, it felt like Silent Hill, where there was ash floating through the skies. It's kind of crazy. You know, you almost forget even now, but there was ash floating through the skies coming down like a light snow, and there was ash covering the ground.
Yeah.
And the wind would blow, and you'd see little dust devils of ash. I mean, I think, 3 members of our team were either in an evacuation zone or so close to an evacuation zone because of fire.
One got evacuated. Carrie got evacuated, and then me and Eric were in an evacuation zone, or like right on the edge of an evacuation zone.
Yeah, it was really intense around here.
Yeah.
Let's first, it was one of the biggest natural disasters that our area has seen that I can remember. Because not only did we have the Holiday Farm fire, but there was fires north and south of that. And then when the Holiday Farm fire first took off, there was 70-mile-an-hour winds that just like took this fire and turned it into inferno. My brother has a house in Blue River, which is a town that got burnt to the ground. And I went out there and looked at it. It was burnt to the ground. The aluminum bus the frame was sitting on the ground. There's no wheels, no tires. The Airstream wasn't there. It just burnt the Airstream up.
Wow.
Glass was melted on the ground it's so intense. They're still working on all that up there and will be for a while. Yeah. So just a quick shout out to everybody who's working hard to help everybody bounce back. That's going to be something that this area is dealing with for a long time. And so, in Eugene, we had a windstorm that was knocking down big trees. I mean, we were in full-on storm mode for quite a while in that area. So that was definitely the least prepared of the scenarios for good reasons, because something like the rescue rally really was not just felt like small potatoes, but was small potatoes for us at that moment.
Yeah. And like, it's going to be crazy. Like there's probably enough content for us to do like 3 podcasts from just this like week and a half of like time. And they're all going to be like, they're so different because there was so much going on.
Yeah. We'll probably do we'll do a podcast on the Holiday Farm fire, and we'll kind of get into, as a group, we all have, did tree risk assessments and have kind of helped out in different ways with that. And then we'll probably do a podcast on, storm work and the storm work that was involved with that. There was a giant ponderosa pine that was removed in that process to just kind of give people a little bit of a teaser of it. It was 160-foot ponderosa pine.
It was just a little one.
It was 60 tons. Is that right?
Yeah, they.
The top or the whole thing?
No, the whole thing. I think
thing.
was 60 tons.
Yeah, because the top was.
We pretty much did it in 2 picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Two cranes.
Two
like
cranes.
the biggest cranes we could.
We shut down a street for a couple days because it was such a crazy time. It took a while to get the cranes there, because there's only a couple cranes in the area big enough to do what we needed to do. The tree had fallen against a building and was hanging out over $150,000 air conditioning unit on the top of this building. I mean, it was really a pretty intense scenario, that alone. And that was just, one situation that all kind of hit at the same time while people are, not in their houses or packing up their stuff because they think, there was a level 3 evacuation zone that extended into the city of Springfield. Mm-hmm. That is, that's real close to home.
Real close to home. Backyard.
But anyways, I just wanted to kind of give a backdrop on what we were dealing with as we were getting ready for scenario 2. Not only that, but Jamie and Corey were out of town for a part of that time. So the planning probably wasn't as intense on the second scenario as it was on the first scenario. Mm-hmm. And the mental state was, we had fun. It was a lot of fun to do it. It was a cool challenge, and I like the plan that we came up with. But it was different than the first scenario and different than the third scenario.
It was the best we could do given the circumstances, but it definitely wasn't our A game. That's for damn sure.
Well, speak for yourselves.
Except for Mandy.
Yeah, there was a shining moment within this whole thing.
That was the most fun I've ever had. They say it's really good for you and your mental health to just go somewhere into nature and just scream really loudly. I got to do that all day in the city. In a tree.
People are walking by looking like, what's going on over there?
It was fantastic.
I think people in Eugene aren't fazed by people screaming
in
the streets.
Yeah, really, though.
Well, it must be a Tuesday.
For some context, it was since the climber in the scenario was a female and she was conscious as per the scenario, we thought it would be funny to have some off-camera Mandy banter.
It was great. It was so good.
Oh, it worked out great.
I got to practice my acting skills and let my screaming out. It was great.
All right, so do we want to watch this video and kind of go over it while we watch it?
Sure.
Do it.
All right, let's cue it up and...
Oh, yeah, and we had a running chainsaw, too.
Yeah, that's right.
That scream. Top tier.
Hey, Mandy, I can't really hear you. Can you shut off that saw? Oh, no! Mandy, what happened?
That is a great tree.
Hey, can you pull yourself up into that crotch? No, man, I can't move it up. Sean, could you call 911? Yeah. Hey, guys, we got an area arrest.
Sean O'Brien. He's going to show up on the podcast one of these days.
Oh, yeah.
A living legend.
This is Sean with the City of Eugene. And it looks like your lanyard is slack. I'm here at 541. That's why you got caught on your foot there. And you can't lift yourself up at all, can you? No, I can't.
So this scenario, there was no access line set.
Yep.
So the first thing to do is to get a line in.
Yeah, you could reach the bottom of her cut line, but that was the only thing that was reaching to the ground.
Yeah. It's funny, every time I do a rescue training, you realize the best defense or the best plan is to have an access line, but it's not that common that people do it. There's lowerable systems, a lot of us do lowerable base ties and stuff.
But in a system like this, that wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big takeaways from this whole thing.
Yeah.
Was in most scenarios, I think having that extra access line is equal, if not superior, to having a lowerable system.
Yeah.
Because if you can just go up there and get them down, you can deal with whatever situation they're in up there. But if they hurt themselves when they're lanyarded in, then you can't lower them down on that lowering system. You got to then figure out how to get to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even a throw line, just a throw line set to like send up a line is way better than having a lowerable system. I think in my
have a throw line.
have a
in the
throw
tree.
line set and
Yeah.
just like have a shot preset ready to go.
Although the problem with
The
that
tangles.
is the
Yeah.
tangle issue.
Yeah.
It's true, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I should really start doing it. Just like choose like over this height and put an access line in.
Well, and we've talked about different ways to have a basal tie, and then you with an alpine butterfly, you attach another rope to your system.
Yeah.
And so that's a pretty slick way, because then you have that basal tie, which if you can just lower them, there's nothing better than that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have another rope
An
in
access
it.
line, yeah.
So you got the best of both worlds there.
And
But
how
it,
mu- how
it
many-
takes a little more setup.
Going back to the throw, how many shots that was your second shot on this one or the first shot?
I'm not sure. I think it took 2 on this take.
2.
And then I double bagged, my favorite trick.
Great trick.
That's a really good tree.
Yeah.
It's my favorite tree.
So it's just especially that time of the year.
I was asked in an interview what's my favorite tree, and I started talking about this one like, a specific tree. Like, normally you'd say like a species or something. I was like,
Right,
no,
right.
I have a specific
I
tree.
have one tree that
Yeah.
I love.
Yes.
It's this big, beautiful, big leaf maple, kind of tucked away in a park. So, it's fun to go rec climb. No one's, bugging you.
Super good limb walking.
Oh, yeah.
Get a ladder.
We don't have ladders.
This is a climbing competition.
Andrew's got every piece of tree gear he owns on.
and,
I'm trying to be realistic, right?
and a few of mine. He was like, "Hey, I don't have enough, man.
Yeah.
A little bit more."
And then I did
Yeah.
this foot locking over and over and over.
Yeah, man.
I just like.
Yeah,
to
you
point-
put in work because, like,
Yeah.
your rope angles were really tough getting out there, setting up everything you had to set up. It was tough for the climber.
Yeah.
My climb scenario 3, up and down, just
Yeah.
as simple as can be. This was definitely the most taxing of the scenarios for the climber.
Well, and
Good shot.
we picked maybe a harder scenario than we had to.
Yeah.
And I take a lot of credit for that, because I love a good challenge, and so I wanted to be able to run up the line. I wanted to be able to do this fun swing in it. I wanted to make it, I figured if we were right next to the tree, if you just go straight up and you're right there, that didn't really seem to be the spirit of the challenge,
And like this climbing system that you've got going on there, you were pretty adamant that you wanted to climb on that, because we had talked a lot. Like me and Jamie were kind of pushing for you to do just single rope on the way up, right?
I think I was
Remember
pushing
that?
the secret weapon.
Yeah. He was
He was pushing the secret weapon.
because I think I tried single rope once, but the kind of setup and breakdown of that single rope, I can't remember exactly why, but we decided not to go with it because I don't think it was as quick or efficient.
Yeah, I just felt like this was the fastest way when you have an access line hanging both ends at you, and you can just walk up, clip a hand ascender on,
And then just go.
So what it was is it's a dual cammed hand ascender with a climbing line and a rope wrench hanging off of it, right? So you go up, clip it on both sides, foot lock up, and then when you're ready to climb, when you get to your destination, your tying point, whatever, you just spike it underneath the hand ascender, and then you're off.
Good
It's something I've been
swing.
wanting to do in
That's a fun swing.
aerial rescue competitions, or in the ISA competitions.
How many times did you make that swing, Andrew?
Oh, I have no.
20, 30?
Yeah. Are you just talking about
Just for the
filming
scenario.
this,
Yeah,
or just every time we've climbed that tree?
No,
Because we've
He
climbed
has
that tree.
swing envy.
Yeah.
it's a good swing. I'll give him that.
You've done that swing.
I have. But
Yeah.
you make
just
it
on
you
the
make it look a
phone.
lot better. Than
Oh, the star of the show, Scott Altenhoff, right
Oh.
there.
That's right.
Talk about living legends.
Another
In
living
that
legend.
shot, Sean O'Brien and Scott Altenhoff.
I'm
Holy
amazed.
freaking
I'm
crap.
amazed the camera didn't just melt.
So that way you can lead them back here when they get here.
So you want me to take your phone and coordinate with EMS?
That would be great.
Lead them back. Okay.
Thank
do
you.
that.
Thank you so much.
I'd also just like to point out we don't have any ladders here, because I think that was a scenario, no ladders. But it's
Yeah.
all ropes. Just saying.
right, you can probably see my rope. I just dropped it next to you.
Yeah, I see that.
That's how close I'm getting. We're gonna have you down before you know it.
Andrew,
Hang in there.
You got a lot of ropes going on down up there, so just make sure, keep an eye on your crossing.
Thank you.
This is the worst day.
We're almost out. EMS will take care of you when you get down.
So what we chose to do
Corey, you're all set. Don't need anything.
was set up a
Jamie, when it comes time to lift them up, I think I'll have you
climbing line that was base tied with a 3-to-1 and a rope wrench as a belay device.
Yes.
Yep.
So Andrew took the end of the climb line up with him, routed it above the victim, put it through. He created a chest tether for them because we were like, oh, it's moving rope. They probably didn't have one on. So he created a chest tether for them with 2 loopies, put them on, routed the line through that and to the bridge of their harness so that as Corey and I tensioned the 3-to-1, it righted them and pulled them out of the crotch. And then we were able to just belay them down with the rope wrench.
It was a really slick setup.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I think that works if the victim is conscious. You know you don't have to cradle them or protect their neck or spine or something on the way down. And it's faster. I think you're eliminating a potential scenario where they are grabbing at you and causing an extra hazard. If someone's in pain, they might just try bear hugging you. They might grab at your gear.
It's like they teach you if you're a lifeguard, like you come up behind the victim so they don't grab you and drag you down with the water.
Yep.
Or, out of the tree in this case.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking of when we were doing this also. Going through lifeguard training, they specifically have you come up and grab them from,
Yep.
First time I saw someone using a rope wrench as a lowerable base tie was kind of one of those moments where like, oh, yeah, duh.
Why not? It's just
Why not?
friction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm right next to you.
Hey, buddy.
Right here.
Such a good tree.
Such a good tree. There's the chest system you guys are setting up.
All right, going around one
Yep.
arm.
Did we end up just using a couple of slings instead of the chester?
Yep.
That was a clever.
It was a cool idea to take off my chest harness and put it on. But
Yeah.
it just took more time than just a couple slings.
a lot
boom,
more
done.
fumbling too, because you got to
Yeah.
get it over their head and they're upside down.
Yeah.
I think we had thought too, like gear that you have on you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Most of us climb with a couple loopies.
Yeah.
Everybody has them on their kit.
Exactly.
All right, okay. We got the rope here.
Yeah, that was a nice
I'm gonna
touch.
hook it to your bridge. Now I'm gonna clip it to your chest harness. It should right you as we tighten it up. All right, you guys, we're ready to tighten. Got the chainsaw cleared. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back up there so I can kind of help free your ankle. It's pretty stuck in there. Okay. We don't want to make it any worse. Big breath, Mandy. Up on the way, Mandy.
You just kick her up there.
Get on up in there.
And the head hits the branch there. Like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, my favorite part is when she comes down, her arm folds.
yeah.
Oh, now you got a broken wrist.
Oh, oh wow.
Well.
Maybe if you weren't such a dummy.
All right.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, you get that.
Yeah.
It's still not
Do you have a
fine.
tie-in and 2 different work positioning things going on here?
Good to come out.
Or just a tie-in and a lanyard?
It was just a
I think it's just the lanyard and then
All right, Mandy.
the line
My
that had
rope.
been.
All right, here we
Yeah.
go.
It feels like it twists around.
Her ankle's free. Let me undo this lanyard, and then you guys will be able to bring her down. All right. Let me know.
All right, Sean, I'll get
Definitely not good, but you're gonna be all right, Mandy.
Okay. Yep.
Come on down.
I'll make sure her legs are.
You can lower down.
She comes down. Here she comes. Almost there, Mandy. Almost there.
I'm starting to feel kind of cold.
All right. Sounds like she's going into shock. When we get her down on the ground here, let's get her a sweatshirt. Try to keep her warm. Nice to
There
meet
it
you,
is.
Mandy.
Oh, broken elbow. But you're alive, Mandy.
Yeah.
EMS is here. All right, great. Oh, great. Mandy, you hear that? I see him coming.
Oh, just abandon Manny.
I think Sean beat you in acting.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I think
There's
he
no
did
shame
too.
in Sean beating you in acting.
He beats us all in everything.
Yeah.
Can't compete with that guy.
No.
Oh man,
That was a good one. But
yeah.
I think all of us were like, yeah, it was good. It probably wasn't the best we could do, but it was good.
It's pretty
It was good.
solid.
It was just, again, given what we had to work with and everything,
Yeah.
all the stressors we were under, it was the best we could do.
For
Yep.
sure.
Yep. I think it was a solid plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think we came up with a solid plan. I think it was a great tree. There was just it could have been, if we had the overall commitment to it and the time we put into it and the focus we had on the other two onto that one, I think it would have been a whole different scenario, to be honest with you.
I totally agree.
I just don't think our heads were in the game nearly as much on that one. And you know what? That's just how it goes. Sometimes, you know, I love the rescue rally, but it is, you know, is what it is. There were bigger fish to fry at the time, and we did our best. And but I think everybody agrees, out of the three, that was the one that lacked the most.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right.
scenario 3.
Scenario 3. So we came into scenario 3, like, all right, you know, scenario 2 wasn't, I mean, we still came in third place, I think, on scenario 2.
Yep.
So it's not like it was that bad. We didn't, you know, we still did good. But we came in like, all right,
We were fired up.
Yeah.
we need to knock this out of the park, you know.
It's do or die time. Like, this is it.
This is it. And it was one of the craziest scenarios as well. Do you want to explain the scenario we were dealing
That's
with?
the official scenario.
Yeah,
explainer.
exactly.
So scenario 3 was Paul Victim, poor guy.
Fortunate name.
He was climbing on a V-rig or N-rig system. So it was a tree. He was, I think, at least, what was it, like 30 to 60 feet above the ground.
It was 20 feet above the ground.
20 feet above the ground of a 30 to 60 foot tree.
The
The
two
tie-ins.
Yeah, the tie-ins.
Oh.
Or 30 to 60.
Yeah.
So, okay, so basically the tree is making a Y, which is why Paul needed the V-rig. So there's a dead limb 5 feet above him, and he has apparently been stung by bees.
Not the bees.
And it is unknown as to whether or not he has an allergy, but he's unconscious, and we can't tell if he's breathing or not, so we have to get him down.
Not Paul.
No, Paul.
And like you said, there's no top to the tree. It was like a storm
Yeah.
storm damaged tree, kind of a Y shape.
Yep, with a big honkin' fatty dead limb hanging right over where he is dangling.
Yeah.
Unconscious.
I think I mentioned earlier, but Andrew and I drove around all day looking for this tree because it actually became harder than we thought to find the right tree for this scenario. We could have, like, you know, made believe a little more, but
Yeah.
we just came upon this one, and it just
And we would find a tree that would work great, but there'd be a bike path right under it, or you know,
Yeah.
something about the scenario would just not fit.
Can you set the scene for when you saw this tree and where it is? Like, what was that like when you came upon this tree?
Well, this was the 8th place we looked.
something like that.
That's it, like tour date.
Yeah, no, and all over town is like, well, let's go check out this park. Let's go look at the. I know a tree over here. And finally, it was like, well, you know, let's go check Gillespie Butte, you know, which is it's a really cool spot, but not a lot of people know about it. It's kind of tucked away, and it's right on the top of the hill, and you can see all of Eugene. You got views just about in every direction you look.
Did you say it was a heritage grove, Eric?
Yeah, excuse me, one of the Eugene Tree Foundation legacy trees.
Legacy Grove.
The whole grove
Ah.
is dedicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
And it's a bunch of well, I would say a bunch of large white oaks, but there's small white oaks, there's large white oaks. It's just a beautiful oak savanna on top of the hill. And as soon as we got there, like that tree would work, that tree would work, that tree. It was like we found it. And all day long we were like, we're gonna know when we find it. When we find it, it'll just stand out. And sure enough, when we got there, we knew where we.
Yeah, and you're up on this butte overlooking Eugene, like just picturesque. It was perfect spot.
Smoke and mostly cleared by then, so you could actually see the city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting because the smoke was gone by then. But then the day we did this scenario, some more smoke just kind of rolled. It was coming and going.
residual,
So it kind of came back in a little bit for the third scenario. I think you can kind of tell a little bit. I got a great picture of first thing in the morning, the next morning, not to jump too far ahead, but where it's just a sunset, and it's because the smoke was in the air. But it was just a bright morning, But anyways, to get back to it, we find the spot. Okay, this is the spot. But we spent that whole day looking for a spot instead of training the rescue,
which was the original plan.
We thought we had a tree. We were looking at the walnut tree over at
Maury Jacobs,
and we were like, this is gonna work. And we get there, and it's like, this is way too big of a tree. We'd have to pretend, 90% of this tree isn't here. And
it'd be hard to film in. Like, it was so full.
Yeah.
You'd have to prune the hell out of the thing just to film and make a dumb video.
Let's hack this heritage tree apart.
We still had leaves on the trees at that point.
Yeah. And so, sweet, we got the perfect location. Crap, we got to figure out what we're doing. Then, the next.
Well, that day we kind of figured out what we were going to do, kind of the lowerable system.
Yeah, just driving around talking in the car, what's the best way theoretically to make this happen? And we came up with this system, and it was like, oh, this is how you do it. All right. And I remember thinking, hopefully nobody else figures this out, because if we
cracked the
code, this is exactly what they're going to want. Now let's rock it. Unfortunately, a few other people found it.
Yeah, solved the puzzle too.
But
we're not as smart as we think.
Yeah.
No,
but actually, I think not. Unfortunately, that's great that many.
Oh yeah,
more
no,
people.
100%, 100%, and
good for all the Pauls out there.
Yep. We are that smart. It's just there's a lot of other.
There's a lot of smart people
too. Turns out there's a lot of people smarter than us also,
which is not hard to do.
Yeah. No.
You said it.
Yeah. All right. So the way I remember it is then that week we worked together. We're talking about it. We found the place, you guys, and we're going through. We're rigging up stuff in our shop, putting a pulley on a ladder here and a pulley, on the wall here, and setting up a V-rig and theoretically, okay, can we lower a crotch like that? Will it work? We figured out. And then the night before we're scheduled to plan, we just think, all right, we got to go up there. And I actually had a job I was doing after work. I was going to, do a side job that I've been putting off forever. And so I just had to get it done. And it was like, all right, guys, I'm going to do this job as fast as I can. I'm going to prune this lace leaf with a freaking machete. And then I'll meet you guys up there.
So the three of us went there and we just set it up. And it was mainly just we knew what we were going to do. And it was mainly just get the things in the tree and see it, and make sure it's going to function the way we want it to. Yeah. And I guess another thing we were trying to figure out is what we did was we turned one side of the V-rig into a lowerable system. Basically, he was climbing, or they were climbing on a friction saver with a carabiner instead of a large ring, right? So you could put a pulley and a belay line above that, detach their climbing line from that large ring, and then belay them down. So we were wondering if the way we had it set up, if there was going to be enough rope in their system to get them all the way to the ground.
Yep.
Or if we were going to have to set up another tie-in point to finish getting them to the ground. And that's ended up being what happened. And we could have changed that, but I liked that we had it in there because it's there's a hiccup here. We need, we need to get the climber up another side of the tree to finish, getting them to the ground.
It was definitely more realistic, and I think better than using a pole saw, because we had talked about it. We'd legitimately talked about it, but it was even with a scabbard on, I just sticking a blade near an unconscious
Corey,
climber.
you are the trash talker of this group.
You
are the honey badger.
I'm not even talking about
respect to everybody that did a great job out there doing it. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Absolutely.
Ignore Corey. None of us can stand him, okay?
Well, none of these guys can stand me. But no, that was a conversation that we had.
No, it's true. We did think about it.
We were let's use a pole saw. Maybe that'll work.
Grab the ladder.
grab the ladder. we can use it. We have a boom truck. Let's use the boom truck.
Here's the boom truck.
Yeah. So the night before, from my perspective, I show up and you guys have already rigged it out the tree. You figured it out.
I had successfully gotten Eric's Sing It Tangled Up.
Yeah. For more on that, listen to the Throwball episode.
It's gold. Comedy gold.
Yeah.
Sorry, Eric.
It's not like you're trying to get hired or anything.
Interview question. If someone were to loan you a throwball.
No.
Theoretical. Purely theoretical.
Yeah. So I show up. There's a throw ball stuck in the tree, and they say, "Hey, this is working great. We're gonna run. You want to see it run through one more time?" And I'm like, "No, I totally trust you guys. We don't need to run through it." And Corey says, "All right, guys, I have an idea. We're gonna change the whole plan."
It was just because you showed up. I felt like I had to
I
throw
remember that
Yeah,
happening.
and I remember Jamie, his head almost exploding. Like,
oh, I hate this guy so much.
Yeah, it was kind of like, all right, you know what? Hey,
I don't remember. What were you saying?
I just remember being like,
I blacked out.
You raged. No, it was quite literally my head.
You went off and you're like,
Yeah,
you had to pace
you held
for a
it
little
together pretty well, honestly, because it was literally the sun is going down in the background, and Corey's like, I'm going to change the whole plan, guys. I think I figured it out. And so the idea was to climb up and hook a pulley, which, to be honest, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, the carabiner.
It may have worked if the dummy was 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep.
So the idea was run up the side that has the friction hitch on it, put a micro pulley on that onto a line, and so you can pull that down, and it'll activate the friction hitch, and you can just slowly lower them down to the ground. And if that had worked out, if there was a couple 100 more pounds on the system, I think it may have worked out, and that would have been fast and slick.
Yeah, I think it would have worked out, but like you guys had mentioned during the planning stage, you said, if somebody slips while they're pulling on that the pulley that's like tending the friction hitch, they can send the climber, screaming down to the ground.
Potentially.
You can also, the way that we did it, you moved the climber, the victim, away from underneath that branch that was suspect. So you got him out and away from it. Whereas in that system, it would have just dropped him straight down underneath it. And then you could have moved him, but then you would have been exposing yourself.
You would have been under the bees.
Yeah.
You would have been under the dead wood.
Exactly.
And we got a lot of good positive comments about getting the victim out from under the dead wood and away from the tree completely.
Yeah.
I just remember reading that and being like,
I just remember Corey being like, guys, I think we should change the plan. And Jamie being like, just looking at the flames behind his eyes start burning, and being like, all right, Corey, let's just run through it. Let's just get it out of your system.
Let's just let him indulge this.
Yeah. And so we tried it.
It'll get over
Thank God it didn't work, because if we had to change the whole plan last minute.
Still, though, I mean, the fact that we're able to all come up and bring a different idea and at least respect each other enough to try it out. Like, remember the first one? You were like, let's zip line the log down for scenario one. And we're like, Andrew with the zip line. But that's actually not a bad idea.
And it's funny because they ended up calling it a zip line when it wasn't on
the video. Yeah. But yeah, no,
it was
it's good
arborist
to kind
clickbait.
It worked.
Yeah.
But trying everything, even if an idea seems like really, crazy out there, like not the most efficient, just kind of getting a feel for it, because sometimes what if you only have certain things accessible in that scenario? You'd be like, oh, well, you could, in theory, use the pulley.
What if you have a boom truck?
What if you had a ladder?
All right, so
should we watch it?
Yeah, let's give a peek.
All right.
Have some words.
And what I'll say is this by far is my favorite of them.
Yes.
We just, it felt like we were on point throughout this whole thing.
Start magnum opus. Setting the tone.
Hey, you guys want to come over and do the job briefing with us?
Oh, yeah. We did a little bonus footage for this one.
Little weekend at Bernie's.
It is October 3rd. We're at 1234 Emergency Scenario Way. Tree species is an Oregon white Hazards, we have steep hill, cavities, tree condition is a concern.
Just try not to
We
laugh
have,
the whole
dead
time.
branches overhanging from the tree. Ground conditions are a concern. Could be a ground's nest, who knows. For traffic control, we have cones and signs. We will be chipping. Our drop zone is marked. We'll do some rope climbing, rigging, no special precautions, and for PPE.
It's funny, our
we have
EMT was on
Micro,
site for the job
boots,
briefing.
high vis-
I think that was some
and our
collusion.
equipment. For our aerial rescue, we'll have Corey on 911. Jamie
Loudly.
will be the climber.
Loudly.
And Andrew will plug you in somewhere.
Awesome.
Paul, you want to climb this one?
All right, sounds good.
Oh, do you want to show them a picture of that the job briefing
Oh, yeah.
to our viewers at home?
Yeah, of course.
And it doesn't show up.
You can just see fingerprints on the iPad, but
Well, you can kind of see it.
Team Eugene, scenario 3, take 22.
It's my
I think it's-
favorite
Team
part.
Eugene,
yeah.
scenario 3,
So,
take
so
22.
that was actually take 222. Fun fact for the viewers at home.
Well, we did 222 takes. We just used 22.
Yeah, right.
They've been rolling for 22 seconds and nothing
Okay,
has
let's
happened.
roll.
There's even an audio cue.
I know.
Hey, Paul, I got your water.
A little Easter egg if you're paying attention and you've watched like TreeStuff webinars. Andrew's talking about it was advanced
It was the
double rope climbing or something with Mark Hamill, and him and his buddy are climbing this tree, and his buddy, he hands his phone off to set up the shot, and his buddy drops his phone from the top of the tree, and it's recording on a live webinar. It was really funny.
It's one of at least 2 little Easter eggs we got in there.
Yeah.
The other Easter egg is the phone call, the emergency phone call that actually shows up on 2 of the videos, but the one that is used in this one has no audio from,
Oh, yeah.
from the phone call.
It's my fault for screaming. Poor Paul.
That first shot did not hit, but man, the second shot, I was stoked.
Yeah.
It's
It
perfect.
it was just-
Headache? Snowball going up?
That limb is real sketchy. Let's be sure to stay away from that.
He almost said stay under it.
Get under that limb.
Yeah, what is he doing? Does he want everybody to get hurt or something?
Jamie, are you a bee?
There's 1,000 angry bees in the man suit.
I knew it.
In high vis.
Really blends in.
There's gonna be a termination site.
Try to have pizza with him. He's like, no, honey, only.
Yeah, honey.
I kept forgetting the bee hood.
I feel so claustrophobic in this thing.
That was a clutch edition, though. I'm glad that we had that to use.
Yeah.
That made it really safe.
Another clutch edition, Johnny Jackhammer over there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great soundtrack.
Yeah. I really, one thing I liked about this is how everybody just fit in, and the kind of workflow on it.
Yeah.
It's just one to the next. It was just working as a team.
Yeah, like 200 takes will get you there.
Yeah. Well, we didn't hit it until about 2:15.
222.
2:22.
Harness on deploy. Okay, I'm going to keep inspecting for hazards. We went
That's
over some
Dynaglide I'm
this
climbing on.
morning. Identified-
Just kidding.
It's the best throw line ever.
I've been hearing it all day today. The Dynaglide. It was actually pretty nice to use
It
the
is
Dynaglide
great.
today.
I'm not.
Yeah, because
not
it's the best
kidding.
thing ever.
Behind you. Thank you. I inspected the rig and everything looks fine.
Thank you.
I'm gonna clear that brush out from underneath.
Okay, how you doing, Paul? Can you hear me? Talk to me, Paul. Paul. All right, I'm getting ready to set my anchor up. Seems like those bees are calming down a little bit. They're not swarming as
A
badly,
little
so we'll
bit.
have to make sure not to disturb them again. Okay. I'm
After
setting.
222
He's been
takes.
up there for a while, and if his throat's swelling closed, we really got to do this quick.
Andrew, that was some seriously good role play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh no, Paul.
God, we gotta help him.
Yeah.
But they're definitely still here.
It's all about projecting
Yeah.
voice.
Trump. Oh, there we are. All right, Corey, I got to get that harness on the belay. Yeah. Could you set this up with the rope runner? Yeah. So that if he doesn't make it all the way to the ground, I can head up and get him? You got it.
That's the new Notch Rope Runner Pro, right?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Where can you find that at?
You can find that on the table in front of us. Is where you can find that. Or,
But where
or
did-
TreeStuff.
There you go, okay.
My rope here. Looks good. All right, I'll get that bee.
Yeah, I think we
Rope
used that
runner
for
looks good. You
all
wanna
of
load
our
it, I'll watch the-
scenarios.
Not the second one.
Not the second
Not
one?
the second one.
Oh, that's right. We used the
That looks great.
the secret
Thank you.
weapon.
Good to go up. Thank you. Oh, we're almost
There were a
there,
couple
buddy. I'm
takes where I
coming
just
right up to you.
totally bongled that,
Got the
putting
hood
it on
on.
the rope.
I did too on this third one.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Hang in there, Paul. We'll have you home to Mandy in no time, buddy.
There's the other Easter
That's a
egg.
good Easter